But we begin with some news from C Street. C Street, of course, is a residence for several members of Congress in Washington, D.C. It's listed for tax purposes as a church, and it's operated by a secretive religious organization called The Family. Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina says he sought counseling at C Street during his extramarital affair with a woman from Argentina. Former Republican Congressman Chip Pickering's wife alleged in a lawsuit filed last week that Congressman Pickering actually engaged in his extramarital affair at the C Street house. Senator John Ensign still lives at the C Street house, and other members of Congress associated with the house admit to having known about Senator Ensign's extramarital affair months before it was ever forced into the public eye. On June 16th of last month, Senator Ensign did go public about that affair, admitting to the country that he'd been sleeping with a campaign staffer who happened to be married to one of his Senate staffers. Mr. Ensign, of course, had called for other lawmakers to resign when they'd been caught having affairs. But so far, Mr. Ensign himself is showing no signs that he'll take his own advice and resign now. But other shoes keep dropping in the Senator Ensign scandal, and we now have news that just 8 days after the public announcement of his own affair, Senator Ensign gave a $5,000 contribution to one of his C Street housemates, Congressman Zach Wamp. Ensign's Political Action Committee made the contribution on June 24th. Congressman Wamp's campaign committee accepted the contribution 5 days later on June 29th. So far, Congressman Wamp has not returned that money. Zach Wamp, of course, is a conservative family values Republican. He is campaigning for governor in Tennessee, in part on his enthusiasm for the sanctity of marriage. When the John Ensign scandal broke, Mr. Wamp told the Knoxville News Sentinel, quote, "These are trying times, and obviously, with Senator Ensign and Governor Sanford, everybody is disappointed. There's no doubt about that." Not so disappointed, of course, that they would turn down his money, however. He also said, quote, "I hate it that John Ensign lives in the house, and this happened because it opens up all of these kinds of questions." But he also told the News Sentinel of Knoxville, quote, "I'm not going to be the guy who goes out and talks." One of the major unanswered questions about the role of this secretive C Street group in the Ensign scandal is whether the other members of Congress who lived at C Street, who studied there, had a role in the funneling of nearly $100,000 in cash from Senator Ensign's parents to his mistress and her family. The mistress's husband, Doug Hampton, says that the payments were suggested by and directed by the other members of Congress who were living at C Street. So, did Congressman Wamp help come up with the plan to pay off Senator Ensign's mistress in this sex scandal? And was the $5,000 he got from Senator Ensign barely a week later part of the same plan? We called Congressman Wamp's office today with that question. We also asked if he was supporting Senator Ensign's bid for re-election to the Senate. So far, we've had no word back. Meanwhile, in Nevada, Senator Ensign himself is coming under increasing pressure due to the scandal. The Las Vegas Review-Journal newspaper commissioned a poll last week which revealed that Ensign's approval rating since the scandal broke has dropped 22 points. And today, the other major newspaper in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Sun, editorialized against Senator Ensign on the basis of his association with C Street. They said, quote, "Do the colleagues who live with Ensign on C Street exert influence over his decisions as a senator? When Nevadans send someone to Congress, they are doing so with an expectation that the senator or House member will serve the state's interest first instead of those of a secretive group, religious or otherwise. Government works best when it is transparent, but there has been nothing transparent about the way Ensign has handled himself since he revealed the affair." Beyond Senator Ensign, from Alabama to Arkansas to Tennessee, in local press across the country, members of Congress who are affiliated with C Street and the family are starting to get questioned about the secretive nature of this group and their ties to it. In South Carolina today, one of the other C Street-linked politicians in the news these days for a sex scandal faced the media for the first time since admitting to his affair. He is, of course, South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford, and he appeared before reporters in the apparent hope today of talking about the Real ID program. Instead, when he opened it up to questions, he faced a torrent of questions about his affair and about him covering it up. I'm not sure what the governor expected here, but it is clear that reporters had more questions than he had answers.
We've been admitted lying to so many people. How do you expect Collins or Lieberman or anyone to take you seriously on this issue?
I made a mistake in life. I've apologized for that mistake. I've said all I'm going to say on that one.
Do you think your affair will always be a distraction?
Life and the choices that we make begin each day anew. And so it's as much of a distraction as you want to make it. I'm going to move on with my life. Question is, will you?
If it becomes apparent that it is always going to be a distraction, would you then consider resigning?
I turn it to you this way. Have you made a mistake, large or small, in your life?
I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you.
I think so.
I think we all do. And I think, in other words, we've all acknowledged that this has been painful. It's been what it is.
Where's your ring?
What's that?
Where's your wedding ring?
What's that?
How was this scandal affect your race for president in 2012?
He thought he was going to get questions about the Real ID Act.